about something that sometimes is difficult to talk about, but I definitely think it's important, especially for people your age, and that is mental health. So this is a 1 in 5 project. This is the professor I work with to make sure that everything I am teaching you today is accurate and up to date. He's actually in the audience today videoing me. Yeah, here he is. Telling you today is accurate and you can trust it. So, first glance, when you think about mental health, you know, it kind of is this taboo thing that no one really wants to talk about right now. And there's a lot of reasons why I started this project, both personal and statistical. When I was around your age, I myself was experiencing anxiety issues, and I had no idea what it was. I remember I went to a doctor and they told me it was allergies and they gave me a nasal spray and sent me home. And I mean, sure, it went by and, you know, it got better for a little bit, and then I went to college and it kept getting worse and worse the more I didn't do anything about it. And when I looked back, I thought, what could I have done that would have prevented me from getting to this point? And I think what would have helped and why I'm here today is if I had education about this in high school, if I had someone stand up and say, mental health is very common, everyone's dealing with it, it's normal, and like, this is what it looks like, this is what you do about it. And had I learned that in high school, had I had someone close to my age tell me this, then maybe I wouldn't have had the problems I did in college. And so that's why I'm here today. Also, 1 in 5 children, either currently or at some point during their life, have had a mental health disorder with severe impairments. That's severe impairment. That's not just like, you know, the standard anxiety and depression, that's severe. And those are just the cases that we've heard of and have been reported, so it's often more common than the statistic shows. There's no difference between college students and their non-college attending peers. So it doesn't matter if you're going to go off to college or you're going to go straight to the workforce or going to take a gap year, the levels of mental health stay consistent. So that's why high school is like the perfect time to be educated about this, to be aware of these problems. Even if you're not experiencing now, you or your friends might eventually. So it's always important to have like this in your back pocket, and it's more common than you think. I want to look at this slide for a little bit and kind of look at all these celebrities. These are just a small fraction of celebrities who have been very out and open about their mental health issues and how important it is to keep in touch with your mental health and get through it and be open about it, because the negative stigma does have a lot of it. And these are the people that we think have it all. They're the rich ones with fancy cars and all the fancy parties and everything, and they too experience the same kind of mental health issues. So it's not just a high school thing, it's not just a celebrity thing, it's an every person thing. And that's what Kevin Love's saying. Kevin Love, I don't know if you all know him, he is an NBA player at Cleveland Cavaliers, and he actually had a panic attack during a live game on the court. And it really forced him to push himself to think about his mental health, to think about what the steps he needs to do, and just think about how society tells him to hide it and to avoid it and to not be open about it. And that's what he's saying. He's saying mental health isn't just an athlete thing. What you do for a living doesn't have to define who you are. This is an everyone thing. And it's not just him. We have other NBA players too coming out and talking about how because they're a male athlete, society tells them that they have to be masculine, they have to show no sign of weakness, and they have to seem perfect all the time. And in fact, like, mental health issues are so common that they too are experiencing this. And they too, even though they're a male athlete, they too should be open about it and confront the issues that they're facing. And then also, this next slide. This next slide I'm showing you is one of my favorite rappers, actually. He is Kid Cudi. He actually, a few years ago, he came out with a post on Facebook talking about how he himself is checking himself into rehab because of his depression and suicidal urges, and how even though people tell him like he shouldn't be open about this and it could be career damaging, he says it's important for him to be open about it so that people can see that how common it is and how important it is for them to get through it. So you don't need to read all that, it's pretty long. So next I'm going to focus on 2 of the major issues facing high school students. And there's a lot of different disorders going on, but I'm going to focus on anxiety and depression because They often are seen in multiple disorders, so if you can choose, like you can see what these look like, then you can often pick up on other disorders as well. But first note that some anxiety is a good thing. It's nature's car alarm. It tells you to study for that big test. It tells you to get mentally prepared for that big game, for the big performance. And it just like, it tells you to be aware, to get prepared. But even though like anxiety is nature's car alarm, sometimes it starts giving false alarms. And that's when it becomes a problem. That's when it starts becoming an issue and influencing all aspects of your life and kind of hurting your well-being. Anxiety is characterized by strong negative emotion and tension and anticipation of a future danger or threat. It can interfere with your academic performance, your sleep, your memory, your relationships, and it can come in a lot of different ways. And if it's left untreated, actually anxiety will probably often go to other disorders as well. So first, I'm going to talk to you about generalized anxiety. I'm going to talk about maybe 3 different types of forms of anxiety. Generalized anxiety is when you have excessive, uncontrollable anxiety and worry about numerous events and activities. This is occurring more days than not. So this goes past like nature telling you, oh, you need to prepare for this test. You're stressing out about everything. Like everything's giving you anxiety, everything's worrying about you, and it's starting to really influence your life. And these concerns can be about minor everyday occurrences. They can be about past behavior, future events, relationships, sports, anything, but it's just going past the normal level as appropriate. And it's often accompanied by physical symptoms. So you often feel restless, on edge, difficulty concentrating, headaches, stomach aches, you name it. And so it's important, like, you know, I know a lot of us feel anxiety, and high school is so stressful, but you have to figure out the line of when, like, this is becoming a problem, it's influencing like, other aspects of my life that it shouldn't. And that's when you need to kind of maybe think about what your next step should be. The next one I'm talking about is social anxiety. Social anxiety is persistent fear of one or more of the following. It can be social interactions, being observed by others, performing before others. So like, this is like maybe people watching you eat, maybe people like you being embarrassed or whatnot. And another important thing to note is like, I think a lot of people think like social anxiety is people who don't have friends, they sit alone, and they just can't make friends, and that's the issue. And that's actually not the case. Social anxiety often occurs to people who have a large peer group. It's just they're afraid to embarrass themselves and have a negative interaction within their peer group. And it's not just adults, it's people your age as well. And I think that's like people don't often think about that level of social anxiety where like every interaction you're having with these friends you've already made is making you feel anxious. You're always worried, you're always on your toes, making sure you look perfect, you talk perfect, you don't embarrass yourself. And that's when it becomes social anxiety. Next is panic disorder. So you can have a panic attack and not have panic disorder. Panic attacks are often more common than panic disorder. They can be than other anxiety issues as well. And what a panic attack looks like is a sudden and overwhelming period of intense fear or discomfort accompanied by characteristics of the flight or fight response. They often have physical symptoms such as accelerated heart rate, sweating, trembling, nausea, dizziness, a lot of different things you can have and look different for everyone. But when you have recurring unexpected panic attacks and then intense fear when you're not about having another panic attack, that's when you start looking at panic disorder. You know, you don't know when these panic attacks are going to happen. There's not really a trigger for it. And then when you're not having a panic attack, you're just constantly anxious about when the next one's going to happen. And so that's panic disorder. But you can still, keep in mind, have panic attacks without the full-blown disorder. Next, we're going to talk about depression. So depression is also another major issue facing high school students. It's actually the leading cause of disability worldwide, and I read something the other day that it's the most costly thing facing businesses, especially in the United States. Half of youth with depression are diagnosed before they're adults. The age of onset is usually between 13 to 15 years. So that's when you're leaving middle school. You barely survive middle school, and then you're going to high school. That stressful period is usually when we see the onset of depression. And so 33% of youth show high levels of depression symptoms, and 90% of youth with depression have at least one other disorder. So it kind of shows you how depression starts really creating bigger problems and seeing other disorders as well, which is why it's good to know what it might look like. Depression is often characterized by like a pervasive, like an unhappy mood. You can't shake the sadness, and it starts interfering with other aspects of your life. You often don't want to get out of bed, you lose interest in the things that you used to find interesting, you start not caring about your relationships, you often start ditching your friends. And that's when like you can see that depression starts influencing all of your life. I know, like, for me, like, I just kind of just want to lay in bed and watch Netflix all day. So it also, like, this sad mood can also be a substitute for depressed mood, or it can be a sign of distress due to depressed mood. And the way I like to think about it, I have this quote that I heard one time that kind of really shows you what depression can look like, is sadness is when you're sad when things are going wrong. Depression is when you're sad even when things are going right. So it's not like you're just having a rough patch and things are not going your way, like you're taking some bumps in the road. It's when like you're having a good day, when things are going right, and they're going your way, and you still feel sad and unhappy. That's when we start seeing the signs of depression. And it's often accompanied by anxiety as well. And these are just some criteria we need to go through them of what it can look like. But the next thing I want to talk about, when I've done these presentations in the past, I have had a lot of high school students come to me afterwards and say, we really would like to have some steps of what we should do when we or our friends are facing these issues. So I've kind of thrown together a list. The first thing you should do if your friend comes to you and they're opening up about your mental health issues is to assess the risk. Assess the severity. If it's a crisis situation, maybe you need to do emergency services right then, but maybe they just need someone to talk to. Maybe they just need a support system. And that's, either end of the spectrum, just know that where you are standing with their problems. Listen non-judgmentally. I know one time I opened up to someone about the mental health issues I was facing, and someone told me, it's just a phase. You'll get over it. It's fine. Like, oh, everyone goes through that. No, it's no big deal. And I immediately shut down. I immediately was like, no, I can't talk to this person. Like, they're not taking me seriously. So when someone comes to you about this, listen non-judgmentally. Often, like, don't even give your opinion. If you start trying to diagnose them yourself, they're also going to shut down. So just listen, first and foremost. And then give reassurance and information. Show them, tell them that you're going to be there for them no matter what. And ask them what kind of information they need. Because often, like, that's stressful as well as, like, for the person that has to go Google everything, what they have, find a therapist. Like, that's an overwhelming task. And so for you to be the person helping with that often takes a lot of the pressure off of them. Encourage professional help. I know, the way I think about it is mental health issues are kind of like a head cold. Sometimes, when you have a cold, it just gets better on its own. You don't have to go in and see someone. Sometimes, though, you need to go in and see a doctor. Sometimes you need to get some medicine, and that's fine. It's just as normal as that. So sometimes encourage professional help if you think it's needed. And then also encourage self-help. That's often one of the most important and critical point of the mental health issues is learning how in the moments where you're feeling anxious, depressed, knowing what you can do to help yourself in that moment is often very, very helpful and often pushes you to then go see professional help. And so then as a friend also, one of the most important things I can say is follow up consistently. They're not just having one bad day. They're going to have highs and lows. They're going to have a couple good days and they're going to hit rock bottom again. And if you follow up consistently, say, hey, how are you today? Or do you want to hang out? What can I do today? That, having that level of support is, monumental when, you're trying to get through a lot of these issues. So that's, the last thing I would tell you, just follow up consistently. I mean, honestly, that's how you should be as a friend anyways. But next, what do you do if you're the person who's experiencing mental health issues? No, you're not alone. I've literally told you this multiple times. It's so common. And I, as a psychology student in college, I remember when I was going through anxiety problems, I was like, I can't tell anyone. I can't tell anyone these problems. I can't show weakness. And I'm probably the one person, they're going to think I'm weird. They're not going to want to be my friend. And literally every single person I talked to, when I started talking to my friends, had mental health issues. They had seen a therapist. They had close friends who they had to help see a therapist. So it's very, very common. So if you're experiencing these issues, first and foremost, know that you're not alone. And when you start talking to people, when you go to someone you trust and tell them what's going on, you'll see you're not alone. Everyone has experiences with mental health issues. It's also good to have someone beside you through your journey, someone to keep you accountable, someone to have a support system. That's beneficial. But it also doesn't have to be a person. Sometimes writing your thoughts down is, just as helpful. I know sometimes when I'm very anxious, if there's all these thoughts going on in my head, I just write them down in a journal, and that way I can just push them out. I don't have to think about them. I don't have to dwell them, and I just know they're there if I need to go back to them. And then consider how these issues are affecting your life. I think first reaction when people are going through these issues, they're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal, like I don't need to worry about this. But when you start looking at, oh, it's affecting my grades, like my friends like aren't close anymore, like I don't enjoy that much, I'm not exercising as much. When you start seeing how it's influencing every part of your life, you can then kind of go, oh no, maybe I do need to start reaching out for help. Maybe I do need to start talking to people. So lastly, reach out for help. It's the best thing you can do. It pushes you forward on that path to get better. But then the next part is probably the most important slide I'm going to tell you today. And it's social media and how it influences mental health. And don't get me wrong, social media is great. I use social media all the time. My friend Rachel's here, she knows I'm always on Snapchat and Instagram. But there is a line that it crosses. You know, sure, social media, it connects the world. It helps businesses promote their services and whatnot. But then it gets to a point where we start having this higher standard of like being that we can't compare ourselves to anymore, that we can't like amount to. And there's cyberbullying, it becomes a social currency. There's just a lot of stuff going on. And this quote here, I think, really embodies like why social media is becoming a problem. Is because it says the reason we struggle with insecurity is because we compare our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. That's what social media is. It's a highlight reel. We put our perfect faces on there. People are editing their bodies now to look better. We like only to post at a certain time to get a certain amount of likes. We're comparing how many people we follow versus how many people follow us. It's become this whole big thing. And so we often find ourselves comparing our lows to everyone's highs that they put on Facebook. No one's going to put a picture of them kind of crying in bed at night or having a rough day on Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram. They're not going to do it. So just keep that in mind. Like, I'm not saying don't use social media. I myself could not do that. I'm saying keep in mind while you're using social media, there comes a line that you should just be aware of. Hang with me. I'm almost done. So there's also a lot of resources available. I know, like, there's a lot of these national resources. I'm going to skim over these a lot. There's a